It was late one Saturday night in the fall. The kind of night where the air outside felt cold and heavy, and the streets in my neighborhood were silent. I had the house to myself because my parents were out of town for the weekend. I was downstairs in the basement, the glow of the Xbox lighting up the otherwise dark room. Empty soda cans sat on the table next to me, and the only sound was the low hum of the game console. It felt safe, almost comforting, until the silence was interrupted. Around midnight, I heard it. A soft, deliberate knock. At first, I thought it was from upstairs, maybe the front door. But then, listening carefully, I realized the sound was coming from the small basement door that led to the backyard. I froze where I was sitting, the controller still in my hands. That door was never used. Friends always came through the front. I couldn't think of a single reason anyone would be back there. The knock came again, this time slower, hollow, almost like whoever was out there wanted me to know they weren't leaving. My chest tightened. I whispered to myself, "It's probably nothing, just the wind." But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I stood up, every floorboard creaking louder than it should have as I crept closer to the door. The blinds over the tiny window were shut, but I leaned forward and gently pulled one slat to peek outside. Pitch black, the backyard was swallowed in darkness. No movement, no sign of anyone. And then it changed. The knocking became frantic. 3 loud bangs that shook the thin basement door. I stumbled back, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. My phone was upstairs charging. I was completely alone. Before I could move, I heard it. A voice, low, muffled, just beyond the wood. "Let me in, please." The way he said it made my skin crawl. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't scared. It was calm, steady, like he'd practiced it. I bolted upstairs, grabbing my phone with shaking hands. By the time I returned to the basement, the knocking had stopped. I dialed my neighbor, an older man who lived next door, and within minutes he came out with a flashlight, scanning the darkness of my yard. He didn't find anyone, but what he did find made my stomach drop. Footprints in the wet dirt, leading away from the basement door. But they didn't go back to the street. They led to the side of my house, right under my bedroom window. This happened 2 years ago. I live in a small town where, during storms, the streets get unusually quiet. The sound of heavy rain pounding on the roof almost drowned out everything else. The occasional rumble of thunder rolled through the night, but otherwise the neighborhood was silent. It was close to 11 p.m. I was home alone, sitting in the living room with the TV on low. The flicker of the screen lit up the room, mixing with the faint yellow glow of a lamp. It was comforting until I heard something that made me mute the TV. A faint knock at my front door. First, I thought it was just the storm, maybe a branch hitting the siding or rain tapping against the wood. But then it came again, louder this time, a deliberate knock. Cautiously, I walked up to the door and pressed my eye against the peephole. First, I thought no one was there. Then I noticed him. A man stood on my porch, drenched from head to toe. His clothes clung to his body, and water dripped from his hair. His head was tilted down, hiding his face in shadow. He didn't move, didn't shift his weight, didn't even seem bothered by the rain soaking through his clothes. I hesitated before calling out through the door, "Can I help you?" There was no response. Instead, he raised his hand and knocked again, 3 times, slow and deliberate. My stomach twisted. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Finally, he lifted his head. For the first time, I saw his face, pale, almost gray, with blank eyes that seemed hollow. His lips parted, and in a flat, almost mechanical tone, he said one word. "Phone." That was it. Just that one word. I swallowed hard. I can call someone for you?" I offered, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't move. He didn't answer. Instead, he knocked again, this time harder. The sound echoed through the house and made my chest tighten with fear. I ran to grab my phone, my hands shaking as I dialed the police. While I explained what was happening, I peeked through the peephole again. But the porch was empty. I thought maybe he had left. I almost felt a sense of relief, until I heard something that made every hair on my body stand up. Knocking from the back door. I whispered into the phone, explaining what I was hearing. The operator told me to stay on the line and not to open any doors. The knocking continued for a few moments, then stopped. Minutes later, I saw the red and blue lights flashing through the rain. The police arrived quickly, but by the time they searched the property, the man was gone. They did find something, though. Muddy footprints. They started at the front door, then led around to the back, and finally along the windows on the side of the house. I didn't sleep that night, and I never saw the man again. But whenever it rains, I still find myself staring at the front door, wondering if one day he'll come back. This happened when I was a teenager. My bedroom was on the first floor of our house. At first, I convinced myself it was a tree branch in the wind. But something about I gasped and stumbled back, my phone slipping from my hand. My heart was pounding. The next morning, my dad checked the driveway. That's when he found it. A full